Thanks, more. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a truth that's hard but necessary. People will treat you the way you allow them to. If you teach them that disrespect has no consequence, they will make a habit out of it. You see, in life, we don't just get what we expect, we get what we accept. When you stay silent while someone mocks your worth, belittles your effort, or crosses your boundaries, you're not just being peaceful, you're giving them permission. Disrespect tolerated once will soon be repeated, and repeated disrespect becomes normalized. You teach people how to treat you, not by your words, but by your standards. People will treat you the way you allow them to. It's one of life's most overlooked truths. Many times we think respect is automatic, that people should just know how to treat us, especially if we're kind, loving, and loyal. But the reality is, you teach people how to treat you not by what you say, but by what you tolerate. If you let someone speak to you with sarcasm, belittle your ideas, ignore your feelings, or cross your boundaries and you say nothing, you're silently approving it. You may not mean to, but silence often sounds like consent. Disrespect doesn't usually start loudly. It often enters quietly, dressed as a joke, a passing comment, or a bad day. At first, you might let it slide because you don't want to seem dramatic or overreact. But here's the danger. Every time you overlook it, the line gets pushed back. What was once unacceptable becomes the new normal, and soon someone who once treated you well begins to get comfortable mistreating you, not because they changed, but because they learned you won't do anything about it. Now let's be clear, setting boundaries and expecting respect isn't about being harsh, mean, or difficult. It's about being clear. It's about having enough love for yourself that you no longer hand out passes to those who consistently cross the line. It's about understanding that your peace of mind, your emotional safety, and your dignity are not up for compromise. When you don't speak up, when you let things go repeatedly, you're not being the bigger person, you're being the quiet permission that encourages them to keep going. Respect is not earned by suffering. You don't have to prove yourself worthy of kindness, consideration, or honesty. If someone claims to care about you and yet consistently chooses actions that hurt, belittle, or ignore you, that's not love. That's manipulation. And the moment you allow it once, it creates a pattern. Repetition creates habit. People begin to assume you'll always forgive, always stay, always adjust, because that's what you've shown them. But here's where everything can change. The moment you decide that your time, energy, and heart are sacred. The moment you stop explaining yourself to people who have no interest in understanding you, the moment you choose peace over pleasing, that's when you begin to reclaim your power. You see, some people will only respect your absence because they took your presence for granted. And that's not a bitter truth, it's a freeing one. Because it means you don't have to keep proving yourself to anyone who doesn't see your value. It means you can walk away from anything that doesn't serve your growth, your dignity, or your purpose. You don't have to stay where you're tolerated. You deserve to be where you are celebrated. Don't let anyone get comfortable disrespecting you. Don't let anyone normalize behavior that devalues you. You are not too sensitive. You're not too much. You're not overreacting. You are learning to honor yourself, and the more you do, the more you'll attract the kind of people who do the same. The world responds not to what you want, but to what you settle for. So raise the standard and let everything that's not aligned with your worth fall away. Disrespect grows where silence exists. It's not always about what someone says to you. It's about what you let them say without addressing it, the small moments, the subtle digs, the dismissive tone. When you allow these things to pass unchecked, they begin to multiply. And over time, what was once a one-time offense becomes a frequent behavior. Not because the other person is inherently bad, but because you unknowingly created an environment where that behavior could thrive. When someone disrespects you and you stay quiet, they don't just forget it happened, they remember that they got away with it. They learn through your silence that their words or actions don't have consequences, that maybe your boundaries are flexible, that maybe your standards aren't as strong as you made them seem. And so the next time they push a little further, the comment is a little harsher, the behavior a little colder. And again, if you say nothing, it grows. It's easy to convince yourself that silence is maturity, that keeping the peace is more important than speaking your mind. But there's a fine line between peacekeeping and self-betrayal. When you constantly bite your tongue just to avoid conflict, you begin to send a dangerous message, not just to others, but to yourself, that your comfort matters less than theirs, that your dignity is secondary, that keeping someone in your life is more important than keeping your self-respect intact. Over time, this dynamic eats away at your confidence. You start questioning yourself. Am I too sensitive? Maybe I'm overthinking it. It's not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal. Because when disrespect becomes a pattern, it doesn't just affect your relationship with the other person, it affects your relationship with yourself. You begin to lose trust in your own judgment. You second guess your feelings, and that's when you find yourself stuck in relationships, romantic, professional, or even with family, where you're constantly being devalued and you feel powerless to stop it. The truth is, silence in the face of disrespect does not build bridges, it builds walls. It allows resentment to grow quietly, and eventually that resentment doesn't just stay between you and the other person. It spills over into how you see the world, how you show up in other relationships, and how you treat yourself. You don't need to be loud to be firm. You don't need to scream to set a boundary, but you do need to speak. A simple, calm statement like, "I don't appreciate that," or "Please don't speak to me like that," can be enough. It's not about confrontation. It's about clarity. It's about making it known that your self-worth is not up for debate. When you start speaking up, something shifts. Not only do people begin to adjust the way they interact with you, but you also start to feel stronger within yourself. You reclaim your voice. You rebuild the foundation of self-trust that silence had begun to crack. No one has the right to make you feel small, unimportant, or invisible. But that right becomes assumed if you never draw the line. You are not here to be anyone's emotional punching bag or backup plan. You are not here to absorb disrespect in the name of love, loyalty, or longevity. You are here to be respected, to be valued, and to be treated with the same dignity you extend to others. Disrespect doesn't stop on its own. It stops when you stop accepting it. So speak up, not to fight, but to free yourself. Because your voice is your first line of defense against anything that threatens your peace, your self-respect, or your purpose. You teach people how to treat you not through what you demand, but through what you consistently tolerate. You might say you want respect. You might believe you deserve kindness. But if your actions show that you will accept less, that's the message people will follow. Words are powerful, but behavior sets the standard. Every time you let someone cross a line without consequence, you rewrite your own boundaries. You may think you're keeping the peace, but what you're actually doing is training people to believe that your peace doesn't matter. Respect isn't something you should have to negotiate for. It should be a basic, non-negotiable part of any relationship, whether it's with a friend, a partner, a co-worker, or a family member. And when someone repeatedly disrespects you, they are showing you through their behavior that they do not honor your worth. The danger lies in how you respond to that. If you continue to stay, to give your time, energy, and forgiveness without change or accountability, you are inadvertently rewarding their behavior. It may not be your intention, but that's the message you send. You can't keep giving people unlimited access to you while they give you limited effort and expect that things will change. Because what you're doing is enabling them. You're creating a cycle where they hurt you, you forgive quickly, and they do it again. That's not strength, that's a pattern of self-abandonment. The hardest part about this realization is accepting that the person may not change. Not because they can't, but because they don't have to. You've shown them that disrespect has no real consequence. It's time to shift that dynamic. Your life is too valuable to be spent constantly defending your worth to people who refuse to see it. You deserve connections that are mutual, where love and respect are not conditional or performance-based. And if someone can only treat you right when they feel like it or when they fear losing you, that's not genuine respect. That's manipulation wrapped in temporary kindness. Start paying attention not just to how people treat you when they want something, but how they act when you set a boundary, when you say no, when you ask for accountability. Respect isn't shown in grand gestures, it's shown in how someone handles your no. It's revealed in how they respond to your honesty, your vulnerability, your truth. Do they listen? Do they mock you? Do they gaslight you into thinking you're overreacting? You don't have to beg for respect, and if you do, then it's not real respect. Real respect is quiet but powerful. It doesn't need to be demanded because it's given freely by those who see your value. And if someone cannot or will not give you that, it's your job to protect yourself, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. It's not selfish to protect your boundaries. It's not mean to expect to be treated with dignity. It's healthy, it's necessary, and more importantly, it's a reflection of how deeply you understand your own worth. You were not created to constantly shrink to keep others comfortable. You were not made to bend until you break just to hold a relationship together. You were meant to stand tall, to move with clarity, and to walk away from anything that tries to convince you that you're asking for too much just because you want to be treated right. Respect begins with you. If you honor yourself, others will either rise to meet you or fall away. Either way, you win. Because you'll never lose what's real by standing in your truth. You'll only lose what was never meant to stay. Disrespect often comes dressed as a joke, a sarcastic comment, or a passing remark, something so subtle that it makes you question your own reaction. You hear it and pause, wondering if you're being too sensitive or reading too much into it. That's the dangerous part. It's rarely loud in the beginning. It creeps in quietly, cloaked in humor or said in a moment of frustration, but it leaves a mark. It might be the way they cut you off mid-sentence, the way they roll their eyes when you speak, or how they dismiss your feelings like they're not valid. And because it's not direct or aggressive, you let it slide, you brush it off. You tell yourself, they didn't mean it that way. But over time, those small things build up. What starts as a minor offense becomes routine. What once made you uncomfortable starts to feel normal. And before you know it, you're living in a space where disrespect is part of the daily atmosphere. The jokes get meaner, the comments get sharper, the care they once showed starts to fade. But because the shift happens so slowly, you don't even realize how much you've been adjusting to discomfort just to keep things going. This is how people get comfortable disrespecting you, not because they are outright cruel in the beginning, but because they test the waters. They push a little, and when there's no pushback, they push a little more. It's not always intentional. Sometimes people are unaware of how their words affect others, but that doesn't make the effect any less real. And it's not your job to keep absorbing disrespect just because someone else doesn't know how to communicate kindly. You have to understand that the earlier you address these things, the easier they are to correct. When someone crosses a line and you say, "I don't appreciate that," you send a message, "I have boundaries." When you stay silent, you also send a message, "You can keep going." Disrespect thrives in silence. It feeds off of your fear to speak up, your desire to avoid confrontation, and your willingness to prioritize peace over your own well-being. But peace without self-respect is not peace at all. It's a slow erosion of your self-worth. You start to feel like your voice doesn't matter. You become hesitant to express your thoughts, scared that you'll be laughed at or dismissed. That's not the environment you deserve. You deserve to feel safe in your relationships, safe to be honest, to be vulnerable, and to be seen. If someone makes you feel small, uneasy, or invisible in their presence, that's not your cue to shrink even more. It's your signal to stand up. You don't have to match their energy. You don't need to respond with anger or aggression. But you do need to be clear, kind but firm, calm but direct. Let them know what's acceptable and what's not. And if they care, they'll make the effort to change. If they don't, their reaction will tell you everything you need to know. Your dignity is not up for negotiation. You don't have to wait for things to get worse before you take action. Address the small things. Speak up early. Don't let the disguise of humor or stress or just having a bad day become an excuse for ongoing disrespect. Because how someone treats you in the little moments reveals how they truly see you, and how you respond tells them how they're allowed to continue. When you ignore the early signs of disrespect, you're not avoiding a problem, you're planting a seed. And over time, that seed grows into something much harder to remove. The small insults, the passive-aggressive comments, the moments where someone cuts you off, belittles your opinion, or makes fun of your emotions, these are not isolated incidents. They're warning lights. But if you wave them off, if you pretend they're not there, you send a signal that this behavior is okay. And once a person knows they can get away with it, they rarely stop. In fact, they usually escalate. People often think disrespect happens suddenly, like one day everything is fine and the next it's toxic, but that's not how it works. Disrespect is a slow drip, a gradual wearing down of your confidence and peace. It starts with tolerating one bad joke, then overlooking one rude comment, then forgiving one too many angry outbursts. Before long, you don't recognize the version of yourself who used to demand better. You've trained yourself to believe that speaking up will make things worse, that rocking the boat will cause more problems than staying silent. But the truth is, silence doesn't protect you. It only delays the damage. You must understand that every time you ignore disrespect, you're not just giving someone else permission, you're also betraying yourself. You're sending a message to your own mind and spirit that your feelings are secondary, that your discomfort is something to tolerate rather than address, This internal betrayal is what causes you to feel stuck, anxious, and even resentful. You begin to carry the weight of every unspoken word, every unexpressed boundary, and it slowly chips away at your sense of peace. You may justify this by telling yourself you're being the bigger person, or that it's not worth the fight. But there's a difference between maturity and self-neglect. Being the bigger person doesn't mean being the silent one. It means knowing when to walk away from disrespect with grace, not staying in it for the sake of keeping the peace. It means recognizing that your worth isn't defined by your ability to endure mistreatment, but by your courage to protect your dignity. Disrespect doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It shows up in how someone talks over you when you're sharing something important. It hides in the little moments when they dismiss your concerns or make you feel guilty for setting a boundary. It can be hard to spot at first, but your spirit always knows. That tightness in your chest, that lump in your throat, that sinking feeling in your stomach, those are not coincidences. They are signals. And the longer you ignore them, the louder they get. You deserve to be in spaces where you are respected. Not just when you're at your best, but also when you're vulnerable, uncertain, or struggling. True respect doesn't fluctuate based on someone's mood or what they can gain from you. It remains steady, even when it's inconvenient. And if someone consistently fails to show you that kind of respect, the solution is not to change yourself, it's to change your standards. It's not your job to train someone to value you. It's your job to value yourself enough to walk away when they don't. Because the longer you accept less than you deserve, the harder it becomes to remember what you actually deserve. Don't wait until the damage is too deep. Speak up when it's small. Set the standard early. And above all, never let anyone get comfortable treating you like you don't matter. The people around you are always watching how you respond to their behavior. Whether they realize it or not, they're constantly learning what they can and cannot get away with. If someone disrespects you and you remain silent, they take note. If someone makes a joke at your expense and you laugh along, they take that as approval. If someone hurts you and you continue to give them your time, energy, and presence without requiring accountability, they assume their actions were acceptable. You may not be speaking, but you're still teaching them something with your tolerance. This is why boundaries are not just important, they are essential. Boundaries are how you teach the world to treat you. They are not walls meant to keep people out, but guidelines that show people how to engage with you in a way that is healthy, respectful, and sustainable. Without boundaries, you leave your emotional space open to anyone and anything. And unfortunately, not everyone who enters that space comes with good intentions or the emotional maturity to treat it with care. When someone disrespects you and you allow it to continue without saying anything, you are essentially inviting them to do it again. It's not because you deserve to be mistreated, far from it. It's because people respond to what they're allowed to do. Human behavior is largely shaped by consequences or the absence of them. If someone can lie to you, manipulate you, belittle you, or ignore your needs without facing any change in how you treat them, what incentive do they have to stop? Often, people fear setting boundaries because they don't want to seem mean, rude, or confrontational. But setting a boundary isn't about being harsh. It's about being clear. It's about standing in your truth and saying, this is what's okay and this is what isn't. It's about being honest with yourself and others about what you can emotionally handle and what you will not accept. And the people who truly care about you, who value your well-being, will will not only respect those boundaries, they'll appreciate them. On the other hand, people who have benefited from your lack of boundaries will likely push back when you start enforcing them. They may accuse you of changing, of being cold or distant, or even of overreacting. But this is just a reflection of how your lack of boundaries once made things easier for them, not better for you. Don't let that guilt manipulate you into returning to a place of silence and self-sacrifice. You must understand that your energy, your time, and your presence are valuable. They're not infinite resources to be given to people who consistently show you they don't appreciate them. When someone disrespects you and you walk away, you are not being dramatic, you are being self-aware. You are choosing your mental and emotional health over someone else's comfort. And that is not only your right, it's your responsibility. The way you carry yourself, the way you speak up for yourself, the way you walk away from things that dishonor your spirit, all of that teaches people how to treat you, and more importantly, it teaches you how to treat yourself. Every time you enforce a boundary, every time you choose self-respect over temporary peace, you strengthen your identity. You remind yourself that you are worth protecting. So don't be afraid to be firm. Don't be afraid to say, that's not okay with me. Because the more you stand in your truth, the more you attract people who respect it, and the less space you leave for those who never did. Respect should not be conditional. It should not depend on your mood, your status, your silence, or your willingness to endure discomfort. True respect is consistent. It doesn't vanish during disagreements, or when someone is frustrated, or when they think you're not useful to them anymore. The way someone treats you when they're angry, inconvenienced, or not getting their way says more about their character than any kind words spoken during peaceful time. That's why paying attention to consistency is so important, because it reveals the truth behind the mask. When a person only respects you when things are going well or when they need something, that's not respect, it's manipulation. It means their kindness is a strategy, not a principle. It means their behavior shifts based on what benefits them in the moment. But true respect does not fluctuate like that. It doesn't get thrown out the window the moment you assert yourself or disagree. In fact, genuine respect allows room for disagreement. It leaves space for two people to see things differently without resorting to insults, belittling, or dismissiveness. This is where many people get confused. They think someone is a good person because they're nice sometimes, because they say the right things when they're calm, or because they're capable of being sweet after they've been cruel. But that inconsistency is the problem. You can't build a healthy relationship, romantic, professional, or personal, on occasional decency. You need reliability. You need to know that someone will treat you with dignity even when they're not in the best mood or when you don't agree with them. Respect isn't just about big gestures or polite words. It's about how someone listens when you speak. It's about whether they try to understand your point of view even when it's inconvenient. It's about how they speak about you when you're not in the room. And most importantly, it's about how they treat you when you say no, when you set a boundary, or when you challenge something they've said or done. Do they respond with patience and curiosity, or with sarcasm, defensiveness, and blame? The truth is, people show you who they are not in the easy moments, but in the hard ones. Anyone can be kind when things are going their way, but who they are when things don't go their way, that's what reveals the depth of their respect for you. So stop giving people credit just because they're occasionally nice. Ask yourself if their actions are consistent. Ask yourself if their respect endures even when you're not convenient to them. This doesn't mean you expect perfection. We're all human and we all have off days. But there's a difference between someone who slips up and takes responsibility and someone who uses their bad day as a license to mistreat you. There's a difference between someone who apologizes and corrects their behavior and someone who makes excuses and expects you to get over it. That difference is everything. It tells you whether their respect for you is genuine or just situational. Don't lower your standards because someone occasionally treats you well. Occasional kindness doesn't erase consistent disrespect. You deserve relationships where you don't have to question your worth based on someone else's mood. You deserve steady, grounded respect. And if someone cannot offer that, no matter how charming or convincing they seem in the good moments, you owe it to yourself to take a step back. Remember, the consistency of respect is the foundation of any healthy connection. Without it, all the sweet words and good times are just temporary distractions from the truth. So pay attention. People may say a lot of things, but it's their consistency that speaks the loudest. When you tolerate disrespect, it's not just the other person who loses respect for you, it's often yourself who suffers the most. Repeated disrespect chips away at your self-esteem, your confidence, and your sense of worth. Over time, what starts as small moments of discomfort can accumulate into a deep internal struggle. You begin to question your value, your decisions, and even your right to demand better treatment. This internal erosion is one of the most harmful effects of allowing disrespect to persist. Our minds are incredibly powerful, but they are also highly influenced by our environment. When someone repeatedly disrespects you and you accept it, your brain starts to adjust its expectations. It begins to believe that this kind of treatment is normal or even deserved. This is why many people find themselves stuck in toxic relationships or environments without realizing how much damage is happening beneath the surface. The disrespect becomes a baseline, a new standard of what's acceptable, even though it causes pain and frustration. This psychological impact goes beyond just feeling bad. It can affect how you approach other areas of your life. Your motivation to pursue goals can decline, your ability to trust others can weaken, and your overall happiness can diminish. The constant mental strain from feeling disrespected or undervalued wears you down emotionally and physically. Stress, anxiety, and even depression can stem from prolonged exposure to disrespectful behavior. When you allow disrespect to continue, you're also teaching yourself that your boundaries don't matter. Boundaries are not arbitrary rules. They are essential protections for your emotional and mental health. They define what you will and will not accept from others. When you fail to enforce those boundaries, you lose the sense of control that comes from knowing you can protect yourself. This can leave you feeling powerless, stuck, and trapped. Reclaiming your sense of worth starts with recognizing that disrespect is not your fault. No one deserves to be mistreated, regardless of the circumstances. You have the right to be treated with dignity and kindness. Understanding this is the first step toward rebuilding your confidence. It means acknowledging that you deserve better and that your feelings matter. Next, it's important to start setting clear boundaries. This can be challenging, especially if you're used to ignoring or downplaying disrespect. But boundaries are the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. They create a space where respect can grow. When you assert your boundaries, you reinforce your value to yourself and to others. You communicate that you will not tolerate anything less than respectful behavior. Healing from the damage caused by disrespect also requires self-compassion. Be patient with yourself as you learn to stand up for your needs and rebuild your confidence. Remember that growth is a process and setbacks are normal. Surround yourself with people who support and uplift you, those who remind you of your worth and encourage your boundaries. Refusing to let disrespect continue is an act of self-love and empowerment. It means choosing to honor your feelings, protect your mental health, and value your presence. By doing so, you prevent further damage to your confidence and create a foundation for healthier relationships and a stronger sense of self. You don't have to accept less than you deserve. Your worth is not negotiable. Every step you take to stop tolerating disrespect is a step toward reclaiming your power and restoring your confidence. And that is a journey worth committing to. Forgiving someone who disrespects you can be one of the most challenging yet important steps in protecting your emotional well-being. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as condoning bad behavior or allowing someone to continue hurting you. But true forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of anger, resentment, and pain that can hold you captive if left unchecked. When someone disrespects you, it's natural to feel hurt and betrayed. These feelings can be intense and overwhelming. Holding on to that pain, however, can become a heavy burden that affects your mood, your relationships, and your overall health. Forgiveness allows you to release this burden. It's a conscious decision to let go of negative emotions. Not because the offender deserves it, but because you deserve peace. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or excusing the disrespect. It doesn't mean you have to continue to trust the person or keep them in your life. Forgiveness is about reclaiming your power. It's about saying, I refuse to let this experience define me or control how I feel. By forgiving, you take back control over your emotional state and remove the hold that resentment can have on you. One of the most powerful effects of forgiveness is how it shifts your focus. When you hold on to anger and resentment, your energy is tied up in negative emotions. This can cloud your judgment, increase stress, and drain your motivation. Forgiveness opens the door to healing by allowing you to redirect your energy towards positive growth and self-care. It helps you regain clarity and emotional balance, which are essential for setting healthy boundaries and making empowered decisions. It's also important to recognize that forgiveness is a process, not a one-time event. You may find yourself cycling through feelings of hurt, anger, and forgiveness multiple times before reaching a place of peace. This is normal. Be patient with yourself as you work through these emotions. It can be helpful to seek support from trusted friends, mentors, or therapists who can guide you through this journey. Forgiveness can also improve your relationships moving forward. When you forgive, you create space for healthier interactions. This doesn't mean returning to a toxic dynamic, but rather learning to engage with others in a way that protects your well-being. Forgiveness helps you communicate from a place of strength rather than pain. It enables you to set clearer boundaries and expect more respectful treatment. Additionally, practicing forgiveness can improve your physical health. Studies have shown that holding on to resentment and anger is linked to increased risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, and weakened immune function. Letting go of grudges through forgiveness can reduce stress and promote overall well-being. In this way, forgiveness is not only an emotional act, but a holistic one that supports your entire being. Remember, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's a powerful tool for healing that doesn't require the other person's acknowledgement or apology. You can choose to forgive even if they never realize the impact of their disrespect. This choice frees you to move forward with greater peace and strength. Forgiveness is about reclaiming your life from the pain caused by others. It's about refusing to be defined by disrespect and choosing instead to live with dignity and grace. By embracing forgiveness, you protect your heart, restore your emotional balance, and empower yourself to create healthier, more respectful relationships in the future. Letting go of toxic relationships is one of the most courageous and necessary decisions you can make for your mental, emotional, and even physical health. Toxic relationships drain your energy, cloud your judgment, and distort your sense of self-worth. They keep you trapped in cycles of disrespect, manipulation, and pain. Recognizing when a relationship is toxic and having the strength to step away from it is a vital act of self-preservation and empowerment. Toxic relationships are characterized by patterns of behavior that consistently undermine your well-being. This might include constant criticism, controlling behavior, dishonesty, or emotional abuse. The disrespect in these relationships is not occasional or accidental, it's habitual and often escalates over time. Living in such an environment creates ongoing stress and anxiety, which can take a heavy toll on your overall health. One of the biggest challenges with toxic relationships is that they often come disguised as love, friendship, or family bonds. The person may have moments of kindness or show affection occasionally, which can make it confusing to understand the true nature of the relationship. This intermittent kindness can create a cycle of hope and disappointment, making it harder to break free because you hold on to the hope that things will improve. However, it's important to remember that no relationship should require you to tolerate consistent disrespect or mistreatment in exchange for rare moments of kindness. Letting go of toxic relationships is not about giving up or failing. It's about valuing yourself enough to refuse to be harmed any longer. It's about acknowledging that you deserve respect, kindness, and emotional safety. Ending or distancing yourself from a toxic relationship is a declaration that your health and happiness matter more than anyone else's need to control or diminish you. Often, people struggle to leave toxic relationships because of fear of loneliness, fear of change, or fear of what others will think. But staying in a harmful situation out of fear only prolongs the suffering. The uncertainty of stepping into the unknown is often less damaging than the certainty of ongoing disrespect. Courage doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means taking action despite it. When you choose to let go, you reclaim your power and open space for healing and growth. It's also important to understand that letting go doesn't always mean a dramatic confrontation or a complete cutoff right away. Sometimes it means setting clear boundaries, limiting contact, or seeking support to gradually distance yourself. The process can be complex and require time. But what matters is that you move towards healthier environments that nourish your well-being. Letting go of toxic relationships allows you to rebuild your sense of self. When you're no longer weighed down by negativity and disrespect, you can reconnect with who you truly are, your values, your strengths, and your dreams. It creates space to cultivate relationships that are based on mutual respect, trust, and genuine care. You learn to surround yourself with people who lift you up rather than tear you down. Distancing yourself from toxicity is a powerful message to others about how you expect to be treated. It shows that you won't tolerate anything less than respect and that you value your dignity above all. This message is essential not just to those who have treated you poorly, but to everyone in your life. It sets a precedent and invites others to meet you at the level of respect you deserve. The journey of letting go may bring moments of sadness, doubt, or grief, and that's okay. Healing is rarely linear, but each step away from toxicity is a step toward peace and freedom. It's an investment in your future happiness and well-being. Remember, you are worthy of relationships that honor you, and sometimes the greatest act of love you can give yourself is to walk away from what harms you. In the end, letting go of toxic relationships is about reclaiming your life, your joy, and your power. It's about choosing to live authentically and with respect for yourself above all. And that choice is the foundation for a healthier, happier, and more fulfilling life.